All right. Well, let's start it up then. Let's call this meeting to order. This is the Public Utilities Commission, Grand Marais Public Utilities Commission, December 16th, 2020. Let's get going. Who's here? Tim Kennedy, Commissioner Kennedy, are you here?
I am present.
And Commissioner Passos.
I am here.
And Commissioner Wilkes is here as well. Any questions about the consent agenda?
Nope.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, aye.
And Commissioner Wilkes is aye, and Commissioner Kennedy is an aye, and Commissioner Passos is an aye. So that's unanimous, and the motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. What do you think about that electric budget? We've had a few weeks to think about this. Mike is recommending no change. I thought that a 1% increase would be appropriate given the issues of climate change and the need to support the climate action plan. I suppose this is the part of the meeting we might want to wait for Mike to show up for.
You know, maybe George, since I missed the last meeting where you had some of this conversation, I mean, I did read through the minutes, but you know, they're certainly not detailed as maybe the conversation that took place. Any thoughts on the projects that you know might be included with you know, asking for the 1% increase?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't have specific projects in mind other than I feel like the climate action plan has quite a few of them and that a lot of them could use funding. You know, one thing in my mind that we should probably be really investing some resources in is the emergence of electric vehicles and, you know, promoting that from a climate change point of view, but also preparing for that. You know, do we know how our system is going to be able to handle that change? And are there investments that we need to start making to accommodate that? Probably likewise might be an argument to really start looking at what increased solar power systems, you know, what effect that might have on our system. And again, beyond just the climate change issue that, you know, that would be a good idea to encourage more solar power, but also do we need to start making investments in making that work on our system? So I don't, other than that, nothing specific. Maybe Ann, you've got ideas, or maybe Shane, if you wanted to contribute.
Shane, do you have something?
You go ahead.
I really don't, other than, I mean, I think it's a good idea. But I don't have specific projects that I think we should look at besides the ones we talked about last time about vehicle charging stations and, you know, expanding our solar production.
George, do you know how much additional revenue that would bring in the 1%?
I believe it's about $27,000.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, but okay.
So it's pretty modest. And I guess the other thing I would argue is that you know, we are trying to build up our capital reserves. So why not do that sooner rather than later? We have an opportunity where we you know, we can get by with a very modest rate increase, and that just puts us in a better position in the future. You know, if things change and you know, we get into a situation in the future where we were going to need to raise rates, we wouldn't have to raise them as much. It just, you know, it seems like 1% is a pretty modest increase.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And knowing that, we've been starting to look at these alternative energy options and to look to fulfill some of the things that were spelled out in the climate action plan. I mean, it's going to take some resources to accomplish those. I think it's probably a wise choice to raise the rate 1%. And if we find that we have more resources than we need, we could always, reduce an increase, in the future. But right now, I think there are opportunities for us that we might be letting pass by the wayside if we didn't have the resources to accomplish those.
Excuse
Hello,
me, I'm
Mike.
going to escort my dog out of my office and shut the door. Excuse me.
Okay. Hello,
Welcome,
Mike.
Mike.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I
You're
thought you might be done by now.
5 minutes late. We could have had the meeting over already.
Yeah, what are you waiting for? I can leave again.
It just doesn't seem right without you, Mike.
That's right.
Well, is it going to be right without you, George? How are we going to do this?
It will
Come
be,
January.
Yeah.
well, we were just having a discussion about the budget, Mike. I'm still in favor of raising that electric budget by 1%. Did you have do you want to add anything to that?
I'm not sure we need to do it. I don't think that financially there's an issue where we're going to find ourselves short of resources in the near term if we decide not to raise it. The rate study includes a lot of potential things that are not necessarily happening, and yet we're funding without a rate increase. So, and then with the SIMPA rebate that they're paying out, that's about $80,000 that we're going to get. I mean, like I said in the memo, that's about a 3% increase for us without an increase. It's just a one-time money, but it's kind of, in my mind, it buys us time in 2021 anyway to not need to increase rates and still have more resources available. But also, think about in the future, are we going to need to increase rates? And, the other thing about the rate study is it said we probably don't need to raise rates not only this year, but next year and the year after as well, based on our long-term projection. So I guess unless we really, it's a, symbolic thing to me that if we want to just continue to have small gradual increases because some of our expenses are going to increase on that same gradual basis. I can understand the symbolism of it and to try and avoid major ups and downs when things happen, but I don't think we need it.
So would there be a possibility of making an intention or saying that we'd like to, can we earmark $25,000 of that 80 for climate change work?
Yeah, you can. Currently, there isn't any need for it to be spent on a project that we have on the books. So I think it's kind of free for you to use how you want. And if you want to earmark it, that's fine. And if you want to just have it ready for taking advantage of opportunities, that's fine too. I don't think that Shane or I see a need to have an earmark in order to accomplish the things that we're intending to do in 2021. So this would be more of a, if an opportunity shows up that's not currently on the radar, we could respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
What about the capital reserve increase that you'd like to see happen? How does that fit into, having a little extra money now? Can't we kind of achieve that? Let's achieve that sooner rather than later.
It's just a matter of that. Would it be sooner or later? And at a 1% increase, we're talking about $25,000 to $30,000. So we've already got $200,000 built into this budget as capital reserve money. Some of that's being spent. I think about half of that is not currently allocated for anything other than building the fund balance, and that's based on a pretty negative view of how our election sales are going to happen in 2021, based on how things happened in 2020. So I think any recovery just kind of speeds up the rebuilding of the reserves. Our reserves, the only reason we even think they need to be rebuilt is because Dave Berg told us for a utility our size, they generally are larger. We were actually feeling pretty secure at the level they were at, particularly without any kind of large capital projects on the horizon that we were going to use electric funds to pay for. So I don't know that we have to build it up any faster. And I guess I'm not sure if this is the right time to think about using rates to do that.
So Mike, I wasn't aware of the $80,000 that we're getting from SIMPA. Can you explain where that's coming from and what that's for?
Yeah, so that's just in the memo in the packet. It's pretty brief bullet points. So if you missed that, I'm not surprised. And we haven't talked much about it before because it's a new idea. SIMPA, when they were talking about rates and they're looking at their long-term forecasts, they try to get their rates to keep their capital reserves within a certain bandwidth. And they've been performing pretty well financially so that their reserves are above where they want in the bandwidth. So one way to adjust to that is to do a rate decrease, and they did that previously. But another way to adjust to it is a one-time rebate. And I think that more of the members are pretty conservative when it comes to rates and don't like to see big increases or decreases. And so even though this is going to keep the capital reserves a little bit higher than the bandwidth that they agreed to do, they're not going to do a rate decrease. Instead, they're doing a one-time $10 million distribution to members based on their average share of revenues, and ours is about 0.8%. So that's $80,000.
Okay. And we can spend that as we see fit within the utility.
Yeah, it's just they're going to send us a check. We're going to have it in the bank, so we can do what we want. It'll be with our reserves just like everything else.
Go ahead, George.
Go ahead, Tim.
Well, with that in mind, I guess I feel comfortable in, keeping at the 0% increase, knowing that we have these additional funds that are coming into public utilities that might be able to be used for projects that might be deemed appropriate or necessary to fulfill maybe some of the climate action plan steps. Anytime you have a rate increase, it does put a burden on our residents and businesses, and we all know that this has been a pretty tough year, and if we can keep the rate at 0 and still have the resources to do what we think is necessary to carry out the climate action plan, then I would support keeping to the 0% increase. Knowing that in the future, if things change, we can always make a different decision. Next year's rate setting based on the conditions we know at that time, and it won't be it'll be somebody else. So yeah.
Tim, you missed, but I expressed some of those same concerns last time about, it's been a hard year and maybe this isn't the time for a rate increase. Especially if we've got this money coming in that's unrestricted for us to use how we wish.
Okay, well, I'm always a fan of making investments in people and equipment and environment, and so I like to have the funds available to make things better. And I just like to charge people more money. I'm just kidding there. I guess I'm happy with that, and I do recognize that we have some funds this year and that we're in a good place economically. Again, hats off to SIMPA for the way they run their co-op, and to our city staff, who obviously is making things work economically for us as well. I am a little frustrated with the lack of progress on the climate action plan. And so in general, I would like to see more resources devoted to increasing renewable energy development in the community. But it sounds like Tim and Ann, you guys feel like there's enough resources there to do that. And so I'm good with that. Anything else? Do I have a motion?
Do we need a motion, Mike, then to set the rate?
Well, I guess technically you don't have to do anything because it just won't change. So up to you.
Well, if we don't need to make a motion, let's just leave it as it is, and then there won't be a rate change. I guess we do accept the budget then as it has been presented to us. Is there agreement on that? And with a 0% increase for the electric rate for 2021?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all the business we have. Mike, Shane, is there anything you guys wanted to add?
I just mentioned that, and this is really only for Ann's benefit, since you two aren't going to be around anymore, that we probably won't hold a meeting in January because our regular meeting date will be prior to the council's first meeting, and we won't know who to have come to the meeting. So thanks, George, for 6 years of serving on the board, and thanks, Tim, for, gosh, I don't know how many.
Right.
A lot more than 6. 15?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
and thank you both. I can't quite imagine it without you. So,
we're going to make it work somehow, but they'll be missed.
You'll figure it out.
right?
Well, special thanks to Tim. Go ahead,
Well,
Tim.
I appreciate all the commissioners I've served with, the city staff. We're all in this together and trying to figure out the best way to make our public utility work for the community. And I think I've learned a lot over the years, and I guess we'll continue on. Thanks.
All right.
Nice. I would, special thanks to Tim for his longstanding service to the community in a variety of capacities, but especially as a public utilities commissioner. And just for myself, it's been an honor. And again, the city is a fabulous organization, and the community is a fabulous community to work for. So it's been fun. Okay, well, I'm going to adjourn the meeting now. Thank you so much.
Okay.